Welcome to the City of Belle City Council meeting. Welcome to the first meeting of 2026. Please silence all technology during the session and thank you for participating in your city government. Ms. Heidi, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can you confirm we have a quorum?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. If everybody would please rise for the invocation and the pledge to the flag. Commissioner Lance.
Now here it is, if you'd like. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for the beautiful city that you continue to bless and fill out, that you give us great citizens, great representatives, and great police force also, Lord. And may you protect the police force and everyone in our city. Holy Spirit, come and pull on the protection over us tonight and keep us safe. May we have eyes to see and ears to hear and an open mind and a soft heart as we do our business tonight. In Lord Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Moving on to public comment. Persons desiring to address the council must complete and provide the city clerk with a yellow request to speak form, limited to 3 minutes with no discussion. When you are recognized, please state your name, address, and direct all remarks to the council as a body. Mr. Whitaker. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Chris Whitaker. I reside at 5220 Oak Island Road. Since I've been at the last meeting 2 months ago, learned a bit about how policy works. I did say that the latest documents were not updated on the website. I want to correct myself. It's a whole process of how that goes, so it shouldn't be. So just wanted to, if I misspeak, I want to make sure and state that first. I reviewed the 2025 golf cart brochure, and based on that, I'd like to make 2 recommendations. And I want everybody to hear from me directly. I don't want my words minced. I'm not here to get rid of golf carts, okay? I've already heard that once. I'm not. I'm here for the safety of pedestrians and for all citizens. So just want to be very clear up front. Given the scope and impact of what the golf carts are in the city, I believe my 2 recommendations warrant formal consideration as an agenda item on next month's meeting, rather than solely with citizens giving me 3 minutes to comment with no feedback. Recommendation number 1, revise the golf cart access on Hawthorne Avenue to allow golf cart use only on Hofner Avenue east of Embassy Street, not on the sidewalks, on the road. And if you look, and if you spend much time on Hofner, just today I was coming back from CVS and noticed 4 golf carts driving straight down Hofner Avenue. The brochure says that you're only supposed to be on the sidewalks. So obviously it's safe enough for those people, so I think we should move it. Why would we do that? Simply to make sure that the pedestrians that are using the road to run, exercise, as well as to walk their dogs, etc., are safe and have a peace of mind, and they're not worried about a golf cart running up upon them. So that's, to me, I think it's the best practice for public safety, and it also lets the golf carts continue to do what they want to do. Now, the only inconvenience there is real simple. It's when the parents are going to school in the morning, and what they do is they drive down Hofner, they get almost to Embassy, they cut over on the sidewalk. Yes, it does take a couple extra minutes, but I think safety is a bit more important than inconvenience of a parent on a golf cart going to school. Furthermore, I'd like to point out, once you get to Embassy, that's Orange County jurisdiction. In Orange County jurisdiction, even on your golf cart brochure, it's red. It says you cannot operate a golf cart past Embassy, and it also says you cannot operate it on Marinelli, you cannot operate it on Randall, but everyone that's going to school in those mornings are taking the kids all the way to the school. So I've not called Orange County. I don't want to open that can of worms. Again, I'm here for safety. Move the golf carts out on the road, leave them on the road, even if there's a backup of traffic, and then let the pedestrians use the roads, which I've used it for 14 years. Never had a problem until the last year and a half, 2 years. Second recommendation is leave it the way it is. Golf carts are only allowed on the sidewalk, period. But with a caveat, from 7 to 9 in the morning when the most pedestrian traffic is there, when people are exercising, no golf carts. I think either one of those are a safe way to operate, and I think it benefits everybody in the community. So for additional context, I'm not going through that. That's my 2 recommendations. And I'd really like to discuss it. Yes, I know you guys have discussed this at length in other meetings. I missed that. But I can tell you right now, when it was discussed, it was not the school traffic that this new addition has added to the roads. And where I hear there's more students being added, which is going to be even a bigger problem. So I'll leave you with, I'd love to sit down and discuss it. Let's make something fair. I don't want to go to Orange County and say, hey, look at all this going on here. I don't want to go to DOT and continue to push it, but I do believe I should be able to exercise safely as well as my other residents, not at the expense of a golf cart that has 2 or 3 more minutes of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
That's all we have for public comment.
That's it for public comment. I'm going to close public comment. Moving on to presentations.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Happy New Year to everybody. We have a little change this morning. Levi Davis is here with his mom. Thank you for coming. Levi is going to be doing a Eagle Scout project. We're going to get together first. It was a little bit miscommunication. Levi will not be presenting. He was coming tonight to observe as part of his Eagle Scout stuff that he's doing. So he's here to observe the meeting, and then we will get together, myself, and Phil, come with the project. Then he will come back and he will present the project. So welcome, Levi. Thanks, Mom, for coming. We appreciate it. So with that, we can move on to item B.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. Congrats on your journey for Eagle Scout. That's fantastic. Moving on to Kenneth Derrick, Senior Principal Engineer at Universal Engineering Services. Welcome, sir.
All right, so thank you, Commissioners. If you remember, a month or so ago, we had April Fisher come as our city planner and kind of give a little meet and greet. And I said that UES and I had talked, and UES would be willing to come and do the same thing. So Kenneth Derrick is here, Senior Principal and Building Official, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then he has staff with him, David and Alan. So they're here to do like a little meet and greet. They are our building department for the city, contracted building department. They've been here a number of years now, I believe over 10. And they are currently our building department that we use along with our city planner. So Ken is here, and the rest are here to answer questions or just information if you want that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor, and thank you guys for being here today.
All right, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Derrick? Commissioner Lowell.
Hi, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I do have one question. This was an item that happened, it's probably been a year and a half now. It seems like it was 2 weeks ago, but it was probably a year and a half ago. I just want to make sure that when permits are issued, we are taking consideration that we are a tree city and that there should be no permit, and please jump in if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
That allows for full clearing of a lot. As part of, because it did actually happen in a home in my district. And so what happens is when that gets passed and given to one person and someone else says, well, that lot was able to be cleared. We do understand that there are guidelines that allow trees to be cleared, through whether it's an arborist or I believe it's a landscape architect that could also offer that. But I just want to make sure that that's not something that's done frequently.
Well, the building department doesn't deal with trees. That would be your arborist or your.
Yeah, we had. Excuse me, real
Yeah.
quick. We had the one incident where you guys had issued a permit for demolition and included clearing the property of vegetation. So we fixed that. We brought it to the attention, and you guys fixed that. So now you issued a demo permit, but you need to talk with the city about vegetation on the property.
Yes, yeah. When we talk vegetation, we're talking grass. We're not talking about destroying trees. But certainly, as we go through the process and we learn from people taking advantage of some of the language, we try to tighten it up a little bit, make sure that there's clarity of where people need to go to. So I'm sorry that that happened in your community, and I'm trying to make sure it never happens again.
Oh, sure.
No, you have a very good staff here. We worked with Yolanda Quincero probably for over 10 years, more or less, and the system seems to be working. Now, we're not perfect. Sometimes we do make mistakes, and we have to be human and be humble about doing the right thing. And so we try to send people that are more customer friendly out here. We've got several that, they let water roll off their back like a duck. And sometimes people don't really understand the building department procedures. And, I got to say, when I've been a professional engineer for 45 years, and I've been doing engineering for 50 years. But about 8-9 years ago, I think it was only 6 years ago when COVID started, I've been running this building department for, probably since 2002, maybe 20 years as an engineer, but I realized that unless I get my building official license, I'm never going to get the respect with the other guys in the club. So, and I have to go into my leadership, David Oliveri. I want to introduce David Oliveri. He's our department manager. I was blessed that I was the branch manager and I was able to hire David. Now I'm not the branch manager and I work for David. So I'll let David have a few words.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us, and we appreciate being here, and we really, truly want to give the city, what it needs to stay in compliance, keep people safe, also try to minimize those types of errors and that kind of thing. And those systems come in place with the permitting. And I think working with the planning department to try to help make sure, flood stuff, all the other things that go along, trees and engineering, grading and drainage, that kind of stuff, gets, done in the proper procedures. So that's our goal, and we want to help you with that. And I've been with UES for 6 years. He did hire me. It was great. One of his best hires. Don't make a little joke, but no, he's been great, and we all learn from each other. We have 40 people in our department at the moment. We work all over the Central Florida area. We are also all across the state and across the country as well. I think we have with the state, over 100 and it might be 150 inspectors, plans reviewers, building officials, that kind of thing. In the Central Florida area, we have 12 building officials that, we all work together. 3 of them are here, myself, Alan, and Ken, and we have inspectors and plan reviewers as well. We have 28 total plan reviewers, inspectors, building officials on our staff here in Central Florida. So a wide variety of people that, have been doing this for many years, worked in other jurisdictions, and so, sometimes things, like we said, don't go the way somebody wants all the time, but we want to be, let's have a conversation, let's try to get, where we need to be. Our goal is to get you your permit as quick as possible, and make sure it's code compliant as well. So, and any questions, you can always reach out to us, give us a phone call. If we don't know it's broken, we can't fix it. So if you're having issues, please, feel free to reach out to myself, Ken, Alan. Don't call the SWAT team, but definitely, code enforcement. But definitely, please, ask questions now, ask questions later as things come up, and we'd be happy to kind of explain it and try to get you where you need to be.
Mr. Parton, I saw your hand was up. Did you have something?
Yes, thank you. David, what was your last name and Alan's last name?
Oliveri, and it's Alan Johnson.
My question was in the area of the reliance upon Orange County. I've often been told that, or when people come into the process, it's going to take forever. We have to rely upon building inspectors to come out, and I have told them in the past that I don't think that it's quite that laborious in the city of Belle Isle, because I don't think we're relying on the backlog of Orange County. Can you speak to that?
I would agree with that. Yeah, we're not relying on a backlog with Orange County. However, there's a caveat with commercial property kind of, tenant build outs, anything commercial rated, it does need to go through Orange County Fire, and we work with them as well and make sure that, we get, their approvals, that they're in, got to make sure they have the egress for the fire vehicles, 911, that kind of thing. We just put that in their realm, fire alarms, fire sprinklers, but that's more for the, commercial type stuff. But I will say I feel like Belle Isle runs rather smooth versus some other places that I've seen. And like Ken said, we're not perfect, we're all human, but like our target is to keep things moving as fast as possible. And hey, if you have a question on that, reach out, maybe the ball got dropped, and I'll apologize for that, but reach out and we'll try to get you what you need.
No, I don't have any examples of that. I really just want to know for myself so that when people ask me questions, because, like if they needed to have a plumber come in and they had to, do a new job or an AC company or something like that, I wanted to tell them that it doesn't go to Orange County and disappear.
Correct.
That we have our own folks in UES that handle it. And that's been my experience as well, that it's been quick, but.
Yeah, and usually like the air conditioning change outs, roofing, usually those should be almost over the counter, making sure they have all their paperwork there. But if they have all the paperwork, product approvals, the permit application completely filled out, licenses, insurance, and all those other, goodies that go with it, as long as those are there, we can pretty much get that permit, going. The new homes, those types of things take a little bit longer. Our turnaround for the building side, solar building code, we try to aim for 10 business days, either to have it approved or at least comments what needs to be corrected for those types of issues. And I think we're pretty close to doing that. But keeping all the paperwork, it's I don't write these rules, so they're there for a reason. We just kind of try to facilitate making sure we have that kind of paperwork. And and like I said, if anyone has questions, we'll be glad to go through that and see where you're at, and see what we can do to either, hey, we need this paperwork, we can get this done today, if you can give me this, or that kind of thing. So that's our goal.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bertoldi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
A couple people have approached me. I know what the system is, and it takes time to do stuff, but they're like, oh, it took this long to get a permit. Is there anything I could tell them to make, tell them what they could do to make it quicker?
Sure. I think a lot of the problem that we have is we don't get all the complete paperwork. And maybe what we can do is put something, I think there is some things on the website now, but maybe we can look it over, see if we can make it more clear. But if we, get that checklist, the permit application filled out, the contractor's, licenses and insurance, homeowner builder, if they're doing that, their proper, the affidavit that's required by law for that, and that all filled out. But I think it's just a lot of paperwork not getting there, seems to be the hang up, truly. We do have some things where corrections are needed, but I think that's the biggest step. If you can get the paperwork in neat and orderly, that will save a ton of time.
So the best thing I could tell them is make sure your paperwork, get the list, what you need, and make sure you get all your paperwork when you start.
Correct. And a lot of these contractors, you got some good contractors running around here. You truly do. There's some that, but most of them know what kind of paperwork's needed, when the notice of commencement's needed, that kind of thing, and all the paperwork. So really, sometimes I shake my head a little bit, which contractors should know, and it's like we could make this a lot easier, but some of them are pretty good, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bobrowski.
Thank you. You spoke about staff size at your office. Do you have dedicated staff for Belle Isle, so the same people would be your project reviewers and your inspectors?
At this time, yes, we're essentially having one individual doing most of the plan review, and we do have a few other inspectors due to workload, personal time off, those kinds of things. But yes, we've been trying to keep that pretty steady here because it is good. Most So, but, you know, that's our goal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Roll.
Sorry, I had a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Because I don't know, as part of the process, if the house is going to be torn down completely, is there a physical check to make sure that there aren't bats present, or if there are rodents present, that there's mitigation or remediation prior to that happening, or is it just luck of the draw that they're there or not there?
Yeah, for a Florida building code perspective, none of that would really be in our realm. For us, we would want to make sure the electric is turned off. We get the dupe letters, the gas if there's gas, the sewer being tied off and capped so if anything breaks in the water and those types of things. Rodents and that kind of thing more probably in your city housing code, and I think Yolanda kind of you might want to talk with her on that. But yeah, for Florida building code, we'd be out of our realm. You're welcome. Good questions.
Anybody else have anything for Commissioner Lance?
Thank you, sir. The last month, I brought up to the board that a resident on Tremblay Boulevard is singing your praises, along with our city manager, our city clerk, and our city planner. Thank you. And just saying what a great job you guys are doing.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. And you know, like I said, we're definitely trying. And please, any questions, comments, concerns, you know, let us know. Give us a call. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Shuck.
Just out of curiosity, pardon my ignorance, if a resident has a problem with not necessarily getting a permit, but having an inspector come out in a timely manner and that kind of thing, should they call City Hall or should they call your company directly?
They can call us directly, yes. That'd probably be the best bet to get them where they need to be. And like, are they asking for like morning inspections and that kind of thing? And okay, I'll have a brief caveat on that. We definitely try to make do for morning or afternoon inspections. If something's pressing, concrete needs to get poured, I would recommend call to make sure we can accommodate that. Like I said, sometimes things get crazy, and you know they're tied up somewhere else before they come here or whatever. But it's hard to get precise times, but we'll definitely try to accommodate. And if you call and communicate that, we can definitely make that happen. I know Alan, he helps out all the time, and we have others. Alan's kind of our go-to. He's been in the business. He was a building official at the city of Maitland for 16 and a half years. He's well seasoned, knows, he's been around, worked at a couple other cities. He's been on in all the associations. Were you president?
Yeah, the local chapter of the
He was a
Officials Association.
president of the BOAF. Well, maybe I'll let you speak. I don't know. Do you want to speak now? I don't want to take your thunder here. I'll let Alan jump in first.
Yeah, so I started in codes in 1997, poured concrete before that. Didn't want to still be pushing the wheelbarrow when I was 50. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it just gets hard. But started in Lake Mary, I was there 7.5 years, inspector, plans examiner. Went to Maitland to be deputy building official 3 years, and then building official 16 and a half. Also had code enforcement under my purview and had many fun times like pulling snipe signs at 5:30 in the morning and checking concrete pours at 2 a.m. to make sure that the noise and lights were at levels they should be. But yeah, I had the opportunity to go through the officers' chairs at the local chapter of the Building Officials Association, which our chapter covers a basically four county area. I did want to speak to your question about the rodents and those kinds of things. Maitland had a city ordinance that required a report from a registered environment control individual with every permit application. and that's a good thing. I haven't, since we don't do code enforcement through UES, I haven't looked at what you have for your standard housing code, but if you haven't adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, that's a really, really good thing to do. And Maitland, while I was there, we adopted it with some local amendments to it, and you can kind of build in some of those things, which is a really good thing. So, yeah, I have all my certifications, so I've been able to be of help to UES. I'll be 5 years next month with Universal UES. So, feel free if anybody has any questions or any of your residents have problems. A lot of times there's things that I can help with that. My philosophy in Maitland, I felt like we had a pretty tight ship, was, you know, I'd heard bad things about inspectors and government employees before I became one. And part of my mission, besides getting away from hard physical labor, was to change the perception of government, that it's not a whole bunch of people just standing around collecting a paycheck. And my philosophy too, having worked with some inspectors that didn't win my best affections because of the power trips they got on, was that, you know, I felt like to change that perception of government, that we need to do everything we can to work with contractors and work with our city. And I've always said on this side of the fence, working for government, that we'll do anything we can to help you as inspectors, plans examiners, except let you do something immoral, illegal, unethical, or do it for you. So that worked very well for me in Maitland, and I think I heard after I left that several of them missed me, which made me feel good. Any questions?
Anybody else have anything else? Okay, Mr. Rudimental.
Yeah, thank you. Alan, thank you very much, and appreciate it. Ken, David, Ken, come on up, please.
I just want to wrap up and say we really do appreciate the opportunity to serve you. And anytime that there's a problem, don't hesitate to come to us. If you think that we're not doing our job right, or you think that we're not doing something well, like Alan said, you know, there's always been this perception some building officials carry a gun and a badge, and you know, we're not here to stop construction. We want you to have construction. We want you to have, that's more revenues for the city, and it makes it a better place for everybody. So with that said, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the city and let you know that we're here to help your code enforcement. Travis, I've been out with the police chiefs quite a bit over the years, and we've seen some funny things around here, but always glad to help you in any capacity that we have the ability to, whether it be engineering, building, code administration, or anything that you need. That's why we're called Universal. We do a lot of things. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Just to follow up on a couple of things, I want to thank Universal for being here. I thank you, commissioners, for asking the questions. First of all, as far as contact information, what I'll do is these three gentlemen right here, I will send the council their information for you. So if you need something, you can basically say, here, go ahead and call this person. So you guys have the information. So you can, instead of calling me or calling April, you can just send it directly. So I'll do that. When you're asking about certain things, there's certain times that UES will be, I guess, in the process with a resident that doesn't go through the city. So we know about it, but it doesn't go through our city planner because it's something like putting in air conditioning or doing something, or they'll go directly. Now we'll get the call, hey, how do I do this? Do I need to come to the city? No, here's the contact information, call UES directly. However, we work together. If it's a design or something where April and the city planner is involved, then obviously we all work together. So if we can help with information, or if there's an issue or problem, if it comes through us, we'll get it to them. If it comes to them, they get it to us. So we still try to work together, but I'll get you that information, and I'll put April Fisher, a city planner, on that. So you'll have 4 contacts, so you guys can give that out when you need to. Commissioner Bertoli brought up something really good about what can we do, or what can a homeowner do when it talks about information. The number one thing is make sure you have your packet and give them the packet with the design or whatever is needed to do that. Now, For me, I'm the floodplain administrator for the city. Yay. So I deal with elevation certificates, right? And I have to make sure when I look at this stuff that the engineer, basically it's for flood, right? For FEMA insurance. You have to make sure everything is, it's a complete document. There's quite a few things involved with it. Usually the inspector, Susan Manchester, will send me the elevation certificate because it's mandated and everything else. So before somebody can get their CO, and CO is basically certificate of occupancy. In other words, I get to move in, right? So I'll look at that and make sure that the engineer has everything and it's right, and then I fill out a paperwork that basically says everything is kosher and everything is good. They have pictures, they have basically everything, and then I'll go ahead and sign off on that. And usually that's the last item before they'll issue and you can move in, okay? There's been a couple of instances where the information in the beginning is one thing to start the project, but the information at the end of the project is just as important. Take for an example, basically your leach field or your septic system certification. Dealing with one right now had basically an elevation certificate, but the resident didn't provide this information. And there was another document they had to provide. We could not give them a certificate of occupancy until they provided this information. Well, the information was asked by UES to the resident 4, maybe 5 times, and they still didn't provide it. But yet the resident wanted me right away to fill this out so I can give them the permission to move in. So what I do in those circumstances is I look at the information, I look at what's given, and I email the person back and I said, my job is done, I filled out the EC. I said, but until you submit what's left, basically for this, you cannot get your basically permission to move in. So I put on that application for UES to make the decision to give the CO based on when all that information is put in. So again, information in the beginning is important, but also information at the end. If everything is in and UES tells me it's all in, fill out the EC, send it to them, and I'll put the date the CO was issued, and I can put that date in today or tomorrow, if you will, and the person, the UES gets it, perfect, and they'll issue their CO. So long-winded a little bit, but just to tell you that information is important in the beginning and information is important at the end. So that's all. So thank you guys again.
Thank you again for being here. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have consent.
Yeah, moving on to consent items. These items are considered routine. One motion will adopt them unless a council member requests before the vote on the motion that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Do I have a motion on the floor for consent items? Commissioner Lowell.
I make a motion that we consent item A, approval of city council meeting minutes December 16, 2025.
Second from Commissioner Parton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That's it for consent items. Moving on to unfinished business. 3904, Araujo Court update.
Okay, so I put on this update for today, or tonight, and then we will have the contractor, and hopefully Ms. Leiser come on the 20th, because that's what the council wanted her to come back basically a month or so and give the update. I did send council pictures today. So if some of you saw those pictures, you kind of understand what's there. So in a nutshell, they just basically painted a little bit in the front and around the sides just a tad, okay? Their choice of colors is their choice of colors. However, they did remove some vegetation, put some mulch down, but the wood was not replaced. Some of the rotted wood was not replaced on the exterior. They pressure washed with the water that they had. So I reached out to Bernard, not happily, but I reached out to Bernard and I asked him and told him that they were behind what they told the council that they would do. So I'm going to read you his email that he told us, which gives me more hope. But just so you know, we were able to look inside the home. 2/3 of the home has no drywall on the walls, and the ceiling has no drywall. They did leave some drywall in some of the bedrooms. There is some mold and different things. Not really our issue. However, we did see the termite rot that we had talked about before. They said they can fix it. Council was very gracious of letting them do that. That's really up to them. Our portion is to make sure it looks really nice. If you look at the pictures in the backyard, in the little cutaway in the backyard, they have that palm tree that's nasty and doing all this stuff. So they're supposed to be removing that, removing the shed, and then some of that vegetation will be taken down. Maybe they need to wait to fix the back of the house before they take the vegetation down so we don't get calls from the neighbors on the other side. But the idea being is they're going to do that. There's some metal and stuff and a couch and different things. Bernard said that they will be removing that this week. So let me read what he said, and then they will be here on the 20th. So basically, afternoon update. Painting, we needed water to pressure wash the rest of the house. Water recently got turned on. We had to remove the garage door before New Year's. It started falling, and the garage will be reinstalled this week. If you look at, they have a black tarp in the front, and the header for the garage is sagging really bad. So that needs to be fixed, and then they're going to put a new garage door, according to Bernard, okay? Will be installed this week. And the soffits will be fixed by the soffit guys. If you notice in the pictures, the soffit that was there just got painted, and then the soffit that's falling apart also got painted. But they're supposed to be fixing that and then repainting, okay? I tried to push the subs to come last week after Christmas until the New Year's. No one wanted to come during those days. Shut down basically over Christmas, New Year's. So I pushed us to this week and next to have the exterior up to par. It shouldn't be trash around. He thought, when I was talking to him about the trash and the material, it was just the metal. So if you're looking at the house, on the right-hand side next to the pod, there's a bunch of metal and a couch and some other stuff. The roll-off they have is full, up to the top with drywall right now. That's going to be removed and a new roll-off will be put back down. So metal on the other side of the storage. The scrappers are coming Thursday to remove the rest of the metal from the right side. I'll update pics and info by the end of the week. So with that being said, I did send, like I said, you guys the pictures just to keep you up to date. I will get some more pictures, probably this week and next week, and we will officially put them back on for the 20th and have them come so you guys can ask them questions based on the next set of pictures. I am hopeful within the next 2 weeks the soffits will be fixed because there's some holes. Basically from the inside you can see light coming through, so it's not really sealed, etc., etc., etc. They did remove the air conditioners on the left side, but did paint the front and put a little red mulch just to try to make it look like they're doing something. But they're making some kind of progress, and as you hear in the email, they want to continue with that. The inside is fairly clean. It's just a lot of studs and a lot of termite eaten studs as well. So any quick questions on that? I just want to give you guys just a heads up update for today.
Anybody have any questions? Commissioner Bertoldi.
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing curious, when he was here last time, Bernard, he said, there's no termite, there wasn't termite damage. My question is, if some of the drywall's still up, both sides of the wall, how do you know whether there's damage or there isn't damage?
That's a good point. You can check on the bottom, right? And you can sometimes check on the outside, but you can see there's termite damage on the outside, Commissioner. But yes, you have to pull the drywall off. What I don't know is the rooms that still have drywall in there, if they just haven't got to it yet. Okay. But the ones that mainly in the kitchen by the garage and that one room on the right, if you're looking at the house on the right-hand side, it's pretty bad. And then the big windows in the back, you can tell where the termites looks like they got these little trails and everything, right? It's all over in there because of, it hasn't been, and water's been going down those walls and different other things, right? So we checked, the studs, some of them are, you can poke through them, some of them are pretty hard. It just depends which one. So with all that being said, there is a lot of termite damage and rot and everything else on the areas that we said. And then when Bill Hahn and I went through the outside, every place that we went through the outside is exactly that or worse on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah, so, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, once again, like I said, this is the one time where we gave them grace. This time we have to hold their feet to the fire. That's the end game. That's just what it is. like Commissioner Smith says all the time, we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We had made the decision to stop kicking the can down the road. They showed us they had proof of funds, these things. If it doesn't get done, guys, I think it's that's the end game. And I think we have to stick to it this time. I am hopeful that it doesn't turn out that way, but I think it's just drug its feet way too long. So, Commissioner Bobrowski.
Mr. City Manager, did you get proof of financing?
No, they have not sent that to me. So I texted Bernard and I said, I need your proof of financing.
Okay.
And they were supposed to provide that on before the 20th, when they come on the 20th.
Okay. I'm all for giving anybody every opportunity, but last meeting, it was like, every time you ask a question, well, the contractor's got that paperwork, he's stuck in traffic. We were here for 2 hours and he never showed up. And you just said they're putting, quite honestly, lipstick on a pig. They're not fixing it, they're just painting over it. So I am not getting the warm fuzzy that you're getting.
This is nice for the lipstick, isn't it?
I'm trying to be hopeful.
Lipstick starts to run after a while. Well, hopeful is one thing, but it's just, I kind of feel like, quite honestly, Bernard's giving us the runaround. And I, for one, if we do not see some definite improvement, we need to move on. Enough is enough.
Commissioner Pardon, sorry about that, sir.
No, it's okay. I think all pigs are offended. I think it's maybe worse than pigs. Anyway, I'm with you. I think if there's, from the pictures I saw, I thought maybe they didn't make as much headway as they had hoped, or they indicated that they would. I don't think we have anything, nor should we probably, regarding colors, but perhaps just a consultation, because that's an interesting color.
Unfortunately, the HOA does not have anything.
Yeah.
There's no approval process for that.
But we don't have any problem in talking to them about it as this could be a first coat or just something on there to protect the wood. That's good, right? So, but I have no problem. Hey, you gonna leave that color? But I'm not going to. I won't strong arm them if you.
No, I'm just being. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Strzok.
At the 20th meeting, is it too much to ask for Bernard to actually not just stand up and tell us what needs to be done or what he's doing, but to actually give us a list of what hasn't been completed? What's been completed, that's in the past, but how much is left?
Yeah, pretty much everything is left, but he was going to provide us with some type of schedule on what they were going to do. The whole idea is to fix and then paint the outside. And I emphasize fix, which it wasn't, it was just painted. But fix and paint the outside and then get ready for the inside. Now, my interpretation of painting outside is all the way around the house. That's going to take some work. They were supposed to have been doing a lot of that work during the holidays, but according to his email, the contractors were not working during that holiday. Okay, I get it, but you got to come on the 20th and explain what the next thing is and the schedule. So we've been emphasizing schedule, and that's why when we were bringing this up before, it was like, the best case scenario is this thing needs to come down. However, we're giving them that opportunity to go ahead and create a schedule and keep it going. In other words, don't do something and then leave for 2 months and then come back and do something and then leave for 2 months. The idea is you need to keep working now and keep working continuously if you have the money to fix and make it right because it's been sitting for so long. So that's what I told him over and over. So I'm hopeful, and I will remind him again on the 20th, what is your schedule? And it needs to be kind of together within, because he said, I remember what he said when he came here before, within 3 to 6 months, that house will be looking good. Okay, well, let's do it, kind of thing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please continue.
Since Universal Engineering was here, is there anything that Universal Engineering has to do as far as the property?
Yes, the Universal Engineering will be involved with the permitting process. So during they've already talked to Universal about, because they have to replace AC, they have to replace pipes, they have to do the electrical. Got to make sure the foundation, the slab is okay, right? So no deformity. They'll have to do the windows. When they replace windows, they'll have to get a so they get inspection lists on all this stuff. So yes, UES will be involved with the permitting process to basically bring the house back up to code, and then also make sure everything else is what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that alone is going to take a considerable amount of time.
And they know, Phil has told them, I've told them, they have to go through the permitting process. And Bernard knows, because he's actually a licensed contractor. So he knows he's going to have to go through the permitting process.
No matter the term, it's going to take a while, period. The shape that house is in is going to take a while, period. What I would say also to that is, we did ask for a detailed checklist of what they were doing and when they were doing it. So if he needs to get sub-scheduled, I can tell you that I know that they do, a lot of them do take from Christmas through New Year's off. My father-in-law runs a business that does it, so I can tell you outright that most subs do take that time with their families, which is, I would hope they took time with their families during that time of the year, but we need to stick them to their schedule and say, hey, you said soffit guys were coming on the 6th, we're there. So. Sir?
Where are we in agreement as far as if something is not completed by the 20th, what is our position? Like, what are we expecting by the 20th? Because I'm hearing like bring a schedule and things like that, which kind of concerns me a little.
I don't think we had a schedule. They said they were going to make the front look good and doctor it a little bit before they came on the 20th, and then start the formal process of everything else that they had to take on and give us a schedule, proof of funding, those things. I don't think we gave them any, here's what you have to fix, outside of the fact that we said the trash needed to be picked up, the yard needed to be mowed, they needed to clean up the front area a little bit. I don't really think we gave them any definites up to that point. Just needed, the wheels needed to be in motion of it occurring. So. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong in that.
No, you're right. Things cleaned up. Most of the outside fixed, right? So he says he's going to fix the soffits this week. So fixing the soffits will do a whole lot for that outside. Then painting it properly, garage door will be replaced. Front doors that's a whole other story. There's windows that have to be done, but the idea is to get it, I think, enough around the sides so that it looks presentable. Front end looking nice, everything's looking, good enough. And then they're going to work on the back, and they're going to work on the interior through the permitting process to make sure that happens. And then keep that front up so that appearances doesn't look like needs to be torn down, if you will, right? So that was the idea. But I would definitely, once we get the pictures and see what they've done, because we are pushing Bernard to get more stuff done. So once they come on the 20th, I think the 20th is now with the schedule. Now you give the ultimatum. If this doesn't keep happening, then you're going to leave us no choice, kind of a thing. Which they're going to leave us no choice if they don't do something with that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Commissioner Bobrowski.
City Manager Stan, what do the immediate neighbors have to say about all this?
So between Phil and I, we never got one call on it's looking terrible. So the neighbor, if you're looking at the house, the neighbor on the right has a chain link fence and a big backyard. We've never heard one thing. And we've been out there with the police department, we've been out there with code enforcement, the contractor's been out there, we haven't got one call. The neighbor on the left, I don't see a whole lot of movement. That could be a rental house, I don't know. But we haven't got basically any calls or complaints at the house or rodents, nothing, zero, unless Phil has gotten something. Yeah, so we haven't really gotten anything. Maybe Commissioner Smith has gotten something through the HOA, but nothing on our part, nothing for us in the city.
Truthfully, it's gone on so long, most people just throw up their hands and resign themselves to the fact that that's just part of the neighborhood. I've tried to tell them over the last few months that change is coming. And the feedback I get, well, thank God. It's about time. It's like, well, government moves slow. But it'll either be fixed or torn down, one or the other. And everybody goes, well, tear it down today. Well, no, you can't do that quite. Government moves slow. But as far as The natives are restless, they're out in the streets with pitchforks and hoes ready to tear down themselves down.
I can imagine that for as long as they've had to look at it, they've all kind of went, oh boy, oh well. And I apologize for that, because that's, in my opinion, that's kind of unacceptable. But, you know, it is what it is at this point, and we're moving forward with a resolution to it now, rather than the alternative.
And to finish that, you know, we had the same issue back on Cove with the property that the Cubs bought, and the double lot, sat there for years, abandoned. Everybody kind of got used to that too. It's not a piece of property now, they tore all that out.
Now that it's gone.
Yeah, so, a little indifference, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. They're happy that something's happening, because they want to drive by it every day and see the way it's been.
Anybody else on Arabo? Okay.
Thank you.
Move on from Arabo. Moving on to new business. Mr. Dimension, would you like to?
Thank you. So I'm going to work this one with our attorney, Ben. I'm going to go ahead and read the agenda item real quick, and then I'm going ahead and read for consideration the first reading. This is a first reading only. Council does have the ability to waive the second reading and pass this tonight, or just go ahead and first read. If there's any changes or anything, then we bring it on for the 20th for the second reading. So with that being said, this is for the ordinance, the chapter 2025-182 laws of Florida. One of the laws adopted in the past legislative session is chapter 2025-182 laws of Florida, SB 954, which requires that cities adopt a process for approving reasonable accommodations for certified recovery residences. All cities and counties must adopt compliant ordinances no later than January 1st, 2026. We only had one meeting in December, so it's on for the first meeting here in January. Copy of the of 25-182 is attached, and you guys had a chance to go ahead and read that. And then it has the ordinance that we put together with all the goodies associated with that. I will go ahead and read the ordinance itself for the first reading and consideration, and then just have quick comments, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor. So with that being said, first reading consideration ordinance 2026-01, our first one. An ordinance of the City of Belle, Florida, amending Chapter 42, Article 3, to create a new Section 4273 to establish regulations and procedures for certified recovery residences, including a process for requesting reasonable accommodation as required by Chapter 2025-182, Laws of Florida, providing for definitions, providing for a reasonable accommodation process in acceptance with federal and state law, providing for application requirements, review procedures and deadlines, providing for revocation and reinstatement, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Mayor, and you guys can have questions or whatever, and Ben can go ahead and help you with this. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for reading that. I was like, I'll see if Rick wants to read this tonight. You did a good job, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, so any questions? I mean, I know I have a couple, so. Hey, yes, ma'am. Commissioner Lowell.
Oh, thank you. I did get actually a couple constituents that wrote they're very concerned about this. I'm sure everyone's did. But I mean, is this something that we have to do? I mean, it's really, you know, I try to explain it in that way. It's kind of like, whether we agree with it or we don't want it. I guess my concern is how do we mitigate any circumstances for this to devalue or create an atmosphere that isn't, you know, good for the neighborhood type of thing.
Well, we do still have rights, and Ben can share that with you. It's not like we're approving this and then our hands are tied. This is part of the process that we have to basically approve this for this Florida state statute. Boom. Once we have that in place, it's one thing. But the city still has authority, or am I saying that right, Ben? Or at least they can.
Yeah, there's a review.
Go ahead.
There's a review process that's part of this. It's not just blanket. These are fully exempt from zoning and land use regulations. It's just saying, hey,
you have to give them an opportunity to present an application for reasonable accommodation. If they, are able to meet this review and satisfy these criteria, the city is then obligated to exempt them from the land use zoning, whatever would otherwise be prohibiting that certified recovery residence in that particular location. But it's not just kind of everyone can just come in and do it unlimitedly. There's a process where they do still have to seek city approval. They still have to make sure that there's they can't just, it's not like gold rush of people rushing into a bunch of certified recovery residences in the neighborhood. So I know there was some concern with that, just on what the implications of that are. And as far as do we have to do this? Yes, it's state law. State law supersedes it. There's not a choice in the matter, but there is some flexibility in terms of what the review criteria will be, and we just need to make sure that when we implement those, they need to be consistently applied to everybody. It's not just like, well, this is the third recovery residence this month, we're going to be harder on that guy. That's not allowed. He gets the same rights as the first two, right? So there is that. There is also making sure that those criteria adhere to like federal housing laws, Disability Act laws, things like that. But within that purview, the city does still have some authority to say your application is denied because this would be an unreasonable accommodation. The city doesn't have to bend over backwards to make up reasons as long as they're not satisfying with objectively consistent criteria that apply evenly. The city is well within the rights to say your current proposal is unreasonable. That would be too much for this zoning. That would be too much for this land use, whatever the case would be. And the city is able to say this particular application is denied. So there is some authority to oversight. Yeah.
But then they would be able to. They would be able to go through the process of reapplying with criteria that perhaps, if we were to say that doesn't meet the criteria, your application is not approved, and they could resubmit an updated application. So
possibly, depending on what why it's it passed through and passed review. So that might be very fact dependent.
Okay.
It could just be that this can, for whatever reason, this particular project can never pass review. In which case, they're out of luck. If they did something wrong in the application, or they're going to have to reconfigure their operation of business or make sure that it's more adherent and be more reasonable. That's also kind of one of those midpoints that it also helps it make it more reasonable to the surrounding area as opposed to just basically becoming a free-for-all where there is no approval process. They're going to try to be on their best behavior to get the city's thumbs up too. So it's not like they're just kind of coming and running the show. They still do need the thumbs up from the city. The city has relatively constrained, a narrow band in which they can give approval or not, or reject approval, but it does have that authority. They still do need to play nice. So that will also help, I think, encourage good behavior from people who want to be established in these kind of residences, is that they're not here to kind of unilaterally just run the show.
Commissioner Lance.
I think this is a question for Ben. Is there any criteria on how many, there's different levels, how many could be in a district, in a neighborhood, in a city, per capita, any? In other words, can you have, I believe there's 4 levels, can you have just in one neighborhood multiple?
As far as I'm aware, there's not. That would be, my guess would be something in Florida law. I'm not, I'd have to look that up if there is, but.
There's no limitation to how many you could have in one neighborhood.
Yes.
It's so subjective, and I read through it pretty thoroughly today and made some notes for myself too. It really, there is.
Yeah, I read it as well.
Yeah, level 4 is the only one that has really subjective standards where it can't be in a neighborhood with contiguous 25 family homes in it. So most of our neighborhoods meet the criteria where the level 4 idea could probably never happen. It's the 1 through 3s that could potentially happen. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we already had one in a neighborhood here as it was, I think in Windsor Place, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Windsor Place, yeah.
But it's not something that I'm sure people are going to seek after it with this being passed, but I don't see, like he said, as long as we're uniformly enforcing what we see,
Do we have the ability as a city to restrict how many in per capita or nothing?
No, we don't.
We can't put anything in an ordinance.
Correct. You can't. The state law in this matter
yeah, it's consistent with the Fair Housing Act.
Yeah, there's certain mechanisms, it's federal.
Yeah.
The state might just be like, take up the DC. So like there's some of this that goes all the way up to like pretty old housing act stuff that's just now being applied in this particular circumstance.
Mr. Smith?
So in general, we can't just say we don't believe that this kind of facility is pertinent to in any of our neighborhoods. If they come in with an application, we can't just say no without having a good reason other than we don't like you people.
Well, so as a threshold matter, yes, but then because that's the thing they're trying to get an accommodation from that. So you can have as a threshold matter, we don't want to do these, and then they're going to come to you. What this implements is a process by which they come to you and say, well, we want an exception from that rule. You can still have that on a rule. It's just this
still say no.
This has to weaken this kind of weakens your ability to kind of enforce that, and so your criteria have to be objective and they have to be compliant with both state and federal law. I'm pretty sure that just flatly saying our review criteria is you just can't have any would just fly in the face of both state and federal law in this matter.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bertolli?
Thank you, Your Honor. Do we have any ordinance on the book or anything now that pertains to this situation?
Not that I know of anything specific like this, no.
Okay.
That's why.
Will be now.
And say they applied and got it. I mean, if it was a 3-bedroom home and they wanted to put 8 people in there, could they do that? Or could we say, no, you can't do that?
That would become kind of a fair housing. That there are still things that would apply. Just the fact that this kind of facility doesn't mean that the other laws don't apply, right? They're not just a free for all. Where they can just cram 30 people into a room and call it a 1-bedroom, right? Like, so they still do have to meet kind of bare minimum standards. There's gonna be all kinds of. This is just saying you can't tell people that they can't have any of these kinds of facilities in these kind of zoning or land uses, period, and then not give them a way around it. That doesn't mean that once they're kicked in, because again, it's also important to remember that this is restricted to people who have specific licenses. So this is not just fly-by-night operations that any guy can just come up and be like, I got a certified recovery residence, me and my 20 buddies are going to come in here. Like, they can't do that. They have to go through there's a licensing process. There's people who, and if they do it wrong, they lose their license, in which case everything that they get through this gets revoked. So this only applies to people who have kind of gone through the system and are kind of vetted a bit. And then once they're in place, the existing laws that kind of govern how many people can be in a place, kind of occupancy stuff, all the kind of stuff, that still applies. It's just, this is more, can you run one of these things in any kind of particular zoning or land use category at the outset. This is kind of getting the foot in the door. But once it's running, there's still, all the other laws are on the books, will still apply to them.
Well, thank you for that part of it. One other part, this law was passed. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. It was passed in June. I did some research. Other towns and counties have already had their criteria wrote up and done. I would like us, as the City of Belle Isle, to find a better way to be informed when these laws passed and what's required instead of last minute. That gives us time to research and do stuff. So, like I said, I'm not blaming anybody, but I think we should seek a way to be told when these laws pass. I mean, this law was passed in July and gives us time as a city to research it and look into it, So that's all I have to say about that.
So, once the home is in place, they still have to follow their rules and regulations. And we have rules and regulations as any citizen would have to follow, as far as disturbances after and noise ordinances and lighting ordinances and things like that, and people gathering outside. I remember the Windsor Place, some nightmare stories that the residents were telling me. One of them was a former mayor who lived down the street from them. I'm not sure if they're still there or not, but there is a way to get them shut down if they continue to not follow our codes and regulations.
Yes. There's mechanisms to. They're not just kind of exempted from all the other oversight. And there is specific oversight for these kind of locations too, right? There are actual, state statutes, and I'm sure there's state regulations, Department of Health and things like that are going to be like pretty strict on what these people can be doing. So like this is a thing that we can police once it's up and running. Again, this ordinance and the Florida statute that's kind of related to it is just basically saying it can be it's probably a violation of the Fair Housing Act to just say you can't build any of these kinds of facilities in this flatly. We can't do like we don't want any of these in our city, right? An understandable sentiment, but it's probably almost certainly a violation of the Federal Housing Act, right? And so I think the state legislation was intended to basically make sure there's a mechanism. It's almost kind of like a pressure release valve to say, hey, look, there are going to be some of these that are fly-by-night garbage operations, and as soon as they're having to represent themselves to the city and say, hey, you have to satisfy these review criteria, they're going to book. They're going to go for greener pastures because they can find another scam otherwhere. The people who are actually trying to do this, in a positive way, are going to try to do this the right way. And I think that's one of the things. The fact that there's a mechanism here, and it's not just they didn't just override and say state preempts this. You have to accept it and all kinds of things. The city has no say in it as long as it's been licensed by the state. Because there are some things where it's like where the state's like, hey, we gave them a license. You can't say anything about it, like alcohol and things like that. Some stuff where it's just like, that's our job. Once we've done our job, you don't have any say in it. So the fact that they didn't do that here means that they're trying. I think they're trying to make sure that the cities and counties and things like that maintain some degree of ownership when these things do come through, right? Like this is our facility. This is the thing that's come through our process, as opposed to kind of a pitting people against each other thing, where it's just like they've got the state government behind them and it's against the city. Thank you.
Mr. Shaw.
Just a quick question, you may not know the answer. Is this, or was this pushed by a group of, I won't say companies, corporations, whatever, who would choose to operate these particular facilities, or is it?
Well,
for instance, like
that's a good backroom question from Tallahassee to some degree, and or DC if you get up to the Fair Housing Act thing. But like, I don't know specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me to find out that there's a kind of a history of possibly even litigation against stuff, and that might be what's one of the things the state legislature is doing here is where they're trying to say, hey, this again pressure release valve, as opposed to it being like, we want to build this here. No, you can't. Take it to court in a constitutional challenge. They're trying to say we're giving people an off ramp as that's not just taking it to federal court, and so I think that's one of the things that I think there's the legislative history doesn't include the lobbying history, unfortunately, as much as it probably should. I guarantee you that there are certain advocacy groups that would be supporting such a measure and opposing such a measure. There's no bill that everyone loves or hates, right? And so I think it's one of those things where I do think there's definitely people who probably had a hand in helping draft it or encouraging its passage through the legislature. But again, my fundamental understanding of this is primarily a way of maintaining coherence with federal law. And so this is probably the state legislature's attempt, dubious though it may be, to thread the needle of trying to maintain some degree of city control while also satisfying, preventing as many constitutional challenges and Fair Housing Act challenges as they can.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion. I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance 2026-01 as presented.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Parton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. First reading is adopted.
Thank you. The second reading will be on for the next agenda. Okay, next item. Appointment of primary and alternate members for advisory committees, TSMO and TAC, and Vision Zero TAC Force. So you look in your packet, basically annually we got to pick somebody. Right now, Phil's our guy. Last year you guys picked Phil for both the TAC and the TSMO because they're kind of back to back. So Phil was on one, so you made him for the other so we can just go back to back meetings. Phil has said he's interested in keeping those. And then there's the Vision Zero Task Force. Phil, were you interested in that one too?
I think somebody else, we need to make it look at doing something else.
So, yeah, so on the Vision Zero one, we can pick a primary.
That one's not a meeting. The Vision Zero is like, the TAC is a once a month meeting.
Phil, come on up.
I was just gonna say that. Rick was already going for it.
You know the drill.
Yeah. Come on up, Phil.
Put your hand on the Bible.
The TISMO and TAC is a once a month meeting.
Right.
There's 2 or 3 months out of the year that they don't meet. I go to those. They are back to back. TISMO is the first meeting, then the TAC. The Vision Zero only is going to meet like maybe 3 times this year, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe once a quarter.
That's just a little different. I just don't know if that's. I had talked to April, and maybe that's something that we can talk to April a little bit more about and see if she is interested in possibly filling that spot for us or something. It's just.
So I talked to April. I talked to April. She is willing to be the vacant. If you look at the TAC and the TISMO, we have an alternate that's vacant. April said she would be interested in filling that vacant if Phil can't go, and she would be okay if you wanted to make her the primary for the Vision Zero. She would be okay with that, or the alternate, to make her alternate all or whatever. Or if one of you would like to be the primary on the Vision Zero Task Force. But April said, thank you, Phil, but April said she is willing to do the vacant, so we can go ahead and put her on the vacant for any one of them or all of them, whatever you guys feel you need to do. She said she's interested.
Chief, I saw you raising your hand over there.
Yeah. It's very rare on the TAC and the TISMO that I can't make it. I've scheduled my whole year. We already know when those meetings are. I've penciled those in. So that one is as far as being an alternate, whoever wants to do anything on that, that's fine. That's going to be very rare that one, needs to be. The Vision Zero, I think April would be great at that one.
I could be either the alternate or the primary for Vision Zero. I was interim when Vision Zero got started, so I was very involved with it, but whichever you guys decide.
Yeah. Any of us can do it.
So we appoint Chief Grimm as the primary. And April is alternate.
Okay. Do you want to do, Commissioner, do you want to do April as the alternate for TAC and TISMO? Just make April the alternate for all 3, and then we can make the chief as the primary for Vision, and then we need in the motion to keep Phil as the primary for TAC and TISMO.
My apologies, let me restate that. I move that we appoint Chief Grimm as the primary for the Vision Zero Task Force and April as the alternate for all 3 positions.
And keep Phil as
Keep Phil, sorry Phil.
Yeah,
keep Phil as the primary for the TAC and the TASMO.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, discussion.
Yeah, real quick. So if April is doing that, is that at a cost to us because it goes along with what she's already, okay. Just,
That's a very good question. No, there was no extra charge, if you will.
When we had our own planner, she was the Vision Zero person.
Yeah, correct.
Yes, she was. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Price, for your continued service. Thank you, Chief Grimm, for volunteering yourself for it. And thank you, Ms. Fisher, for helping the city out in any way you can. It's much appreciated.
Excellent.
Okay, moving on to the city attorney's report.
Aside from the delightful discussion we had about the ordinance, there's nothing really from us to report at this moment.
Appreciate it. Mr. Matkins?
Yeah, just a couple of highlights. I forwarded the council more information about the meetings that the county is having and the county commissioners are having on the surtax that we talked about. So you guys can read about that. That is still in the process. They're still pushing for that. And that is the transportation surtax and the infrastructure surtax, 2 different similar, but there's a sharing, if you will, on the infrastructure tax portion. So as I get more information, I'll send it to you guys so you guys can see what the commissioners are doing there at the county. Property tax reform is still hot and heavy up in Tallahassee, and that'll start January 13th, which will be the 60-day session up there. There has been murmurings of raising sales tax to maybe compensate for the decrease in ad valorem revenues to the tune of about 12% sales tax, which is basically doubling what we have. Some of your areas in the U.S., I know on the West Coast, 10% is not uncommon. So they were talking about maybe, trying to, how are we going to replace the ad valorem revenue when we're going, basically with the homestead. And again, you bought your house, you own it 40 years, property taxes go up, so you're paying, $6,000 to $7,000 a year property tax. So you're still paying rent on a house that you fully own, basically. I think the governor was addressing that about, once you own your house, you should own your house, right? And so that's part of the idea. And then it all has to do with economic vitality. And as people move in, we want to keep people, right? So if you're moving here to retire or moving here for business, we want you to stay, right? We don't want you to come for a year or two and then bug out because taxes are too high, or insurance is too high, or traffic is too much, or it's too many hurricanes, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way as well to basically have retention for the state in doing some of this stuff and give back to the residents who have actually bought and lived here, for a very long time. That is continuing to be the number one thing up in Tallahassee for this 60-day session. So I'm giving you information on that. We are going to put out 4 RFPs here, probably starting in February. We have the drafts, and we're just making some small changes, but we will be going out for 4, and it's in here, or it's in my little sheet. So they're going to be for lobbying services, like we talked. IT services, that's our information technology, who we have the company right now. And because of Milton and Hurricane Ian and all the stuff we've been going through for years, debris monitoring and debris removal. There was a question about, did we procure the contract correctly way in the beginning? And so because of that, we're going to go ahead and re-RFP out, and then depending on who we get and who the council decides to use, that basically we're doing basically a redo of our contract for debris monitoring and debris removal, and then we will have a brand new, if you will, going into this hurricane season. So those are the 4 RFPs we're going to be doing coming up here. And I think they go out in February because we have to get the drafts completed. Do really quick, Lancaster. I did talk to Billy Morgan, not Billy Madison, Billy Morgan, and basically he took it to their executive board. They agreed with the changes that I brought to you and agreed to some of the language stuff. Still going to talk about the fence and who pays for that iron fence, and we'll discuss that on the 20th is when I'm going to put it back on. I'm waiting for them to give me a schedule. So that list of stuff that they're going to do, they want to put it in a schedule form so they can tell the council what they think they'll be able to do moving forward in 2026. So when I get that, I'm hopeful Billy will be here on the 20th and we can get that process moving forward. They were very happy about that $1 a year, Commissioner. So they're excited, but we'd like to say a couple little things on their end, and then we'll bring it back to council. Hoffner Avenue, we're actually going to, Phil and I and our engineers are actually going to look at that road and redo the scope. We've talked to the state, or we talked to DOT on that particular, DOT, that's one DOT state. We talked to them about it. We think we can get the project done without, the huge scope that we had was millions of dollars. As long as we're within the scope somewhat, it still qualifies. We don't have to do another application. And the way it works is that the grant is split like a 53-47, 52-48, something like that. 52% grant, 48% match on our end. So once we get the new scope and we submit it and it's accepted, then we'll come back to council and say, hey, how are we going to pay for this? We will have some money coming in. My next thing is we will have some money coming in from Soul Avenue. Phil and I are working with the contractor. I sent an email twice now. They were closed for the holidays to the original contractor, DB Civil, who did the work. They basically have to do an anti-discrimination type thing. It's attachment 8A. That was in the amended contract that you guys approved a few years back. So because of that, now they need an affidavit from the city, which I've already filled out and sent, an affidavit from the contractor, which I'm going to get here hopefully in the next week or so, and basically the SLRF form that basically says we're not discriminatory, and the signature on the amendment for attachment 8A. You think we sent them enough information already, but now this is more information we're going to have to send them. Once that's submitted, then I have to resubmit for the 4th or 5th time the application for reimbursement. So, which I've already submitted a number of times, and they said good, and then there was always something. So I'm hopeful in the next week or two to submit that with our request for reimbursement, and then I'll let you guys know, and hopefully it's a good thing. 196,000 and change. Finally, we'll get back for that project of 488,000 total project. So that's an update, if you will. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rudmetkin. Moving on. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wolf.
Mr. Rudmetkin, real quick, the debris monitoring and debris removal, is that literally what it means? That so you would have to do an RFP and have a company monitor the removal of the debris? So it has to be a separate company?
Correct. So you have to have a check and balance. So it's like having the arborist with the landscaping company. Yeah, it has to be separate. So the same thing. So, and our police department has been extremely gracious to be the monitoring company. Edgewood used a monitoring company, and a lot of agencies use a monitoring company because they use laptops or they use iPads or whatever, and they have the process and know basically all the FEMA requirements for what's next. We've done a good job. We did a really good, an excellent job for Milton. As the years go, we always get better, right? However, it would behoove us to go ahead and at least send the RFP out and see if there's anybody interested in being the monitor. Now, understand, we have to pay it anyways. So this way it frees up the police department so they can do security and some other stuff. And we'll have a monitoring company doing everything, which we will oversee. And then you have to have this separate one for the person doing the debris removal and basically the debris storage and for the debris, basically, destruction, if you will, just like we've been doing in the past. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do both of those and just see what we got. I mean, if no one does for the monitoring, then the chief's going to step up again if we have an event. We were very blessed this year. If you looked at the way the NOAA and everything, that they all came up out of the south and they were coming toward Florida, and then they got right up next to Florida, and then they made a right turn and went out into oblivion, right? Very rare for that to keep doing it. And then you got all the conspiracy theories about cloud seeding and the whole other stuff, right? We didn't have anything developed in the Gulf enough to come and hit us. That doesn't say that this coming year is going to be the same. We're hopeful, we're praying that everything goes away from us, but we could have a very busy year. They said we're going to have a busy year last year, and it was busy, it just didn't hit us, right? So we're hopeful it bypasses, we build a wall and bypass all of us. But so that's what all that's for.
Mr. Bobrowski.
Would you like to bring that up? I think it's good news.
Sure, if you want me to, I can read it. You want to read it? You can read it on your report.
It's great news.
Yeah, okay. So this is from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to Orange County Government. NPS Fall 2025 Grant Proposal Status. Greetings. Thank you for submitting your grant proposal entitled Lake Conway Subbasin BMP Design. This is over on Waltham, right? So as it turns the corner, and you make the right into the dirt area, they're going to putting in a, what's it called, Phil? Baffle box. Baffle box and all that, and kind of right where you go into the police new boat dock. And they're going to rebuild and do the drainage in there. So we are pleased to inform you that your project has been accepted for state funding in the amount of $600,000 and based on local contribution pledge towards the total project cost of $1.1 million for the Orange County government. You'll be contracted shortly to initiate a cost reimbursement and grant agreement. Please be aware that funds spent prior to agreement execution are not eligible for reimbursement. However, they may be used in certain situations. So I won't read the rest of it, but Commissioner Grabowski is correct. This is a big win because we were working on that for quite a long time. We did receive plans here in the city. I haven't brought it up because we were just trying to finalize the plans and making sure, but we never got this letter. But thank you for sharing this. But this is really great news that they are going ahead and moving forward with that project. Once that gets done, Phil and I are going to look at that area in there as far as material. So right now, we have a resident who complains at the end. So if you go make that left and you go all the way down because of potholes and certain things, and when it rains, it gets mucky, right? So Phil fills the holes, which is good. But when it's done, we're going to be talking to the contractor out there to see what they can do around that baffle box and maybe try to work a deal with them to maybe go in there and pave some of that area. Maybe not pave the private section because as it goes to the left, right about, I guess as you finish the 90, that turns into a private, which is like a private driveway to those two houses. It goes all the way in and it goes all the way to the right to the one house and then a driveway to the left of the other house right behind Waltham Field. So that's all private. So what we'll do is once the baffle box, Phil and I will go out there and talk to them about paving that area and making sure that water drains and that maybe we can get something so when you enter the boat dock, it's all nice and it won't be all that rutted mess. And then that section in the middle where the grass and the tree, take all that out and make it really nice in there. Maybe do a little striping or something, whatever the case may be. So thank you for bringing that up. So it's good news. They're going to go ahead and do that, and that'll be all the drainage going in, and it goes right between the police boat dock and Gary's house right there. That's where that outfall is right there. So that'll all go there, and they'll basically drain all, filter all that stuff before it hits that area in there. So thank you.
Keep it.
I'll keep it.
Big kudos to the Lake Conway Nav Board for
Yes.
pushing this.
Yes.
Mr. Evertson,
Yes.
Mr. Lance was on the commission at one point as well. Mr. Blackton, Mr. Craig, and Ms. Nelson, and Mr. Bonnick for their consistency in pursuing this baffle box because I know it's been a big thing for a long time in that corner.
That's part of my question. Is this letter addressed to the city, the NAB board?
Orange
No,
County.
this is just the Orange County.
Orange County.
It's an Orange County project.
Correct.
But the NAB board was working with our lobbyists to try to secure grant funding and help with grant funding to help with that project. But Orange County has always wanted to do something, but with this grant that they received, it's obviously eases on the financials. But this is strictly to the county. County will be doing it, but we'll be involved with it just to oversee a little bit.
No funds from the city.
No.
Okay. Everybody good? No more questions for me? Thank you for bringing that. Moving on to the Chief's report. Chief Grimm, how are you, sir?
Happy New Year, everyone. We made it through. We did, I think, the first 3 weeks in December, and then most of us took the last 2 weeks off and napped for all of the events that we completed. Thanks to everybody that participated in them. Nothing but great reviews for everything again. We always knock it out of the park, and I think everybody really had a really good time this year, and we always want to make sure that we're looking forward to improve or at least keep the standard we've set for these events. So thank you for everybody that puts in their efforts for all of that and making these things happen, whether it be funding supported by you guys. Special events committee killed it, regular staff killed it, and our officers destroyed it. And Phil made the city look amazing and already took it down, which back to normal. I know some of you have asked for a dashboard. You know, I give my chief's report every month. It comes in the second because it gives me time to complete all the stats. We're looking at condensing that into kind of maybe a Facebook post where it'll give just highlights of some of the stats. Mr. Parkin sent me one that Plantation City does. We kind of want to try and fit it towards ours. Like they've got a gazillion arrests. We have a few, but not they have a month. We have a lot more citations, but we're working on that. It's not my wheelhouse as far as graphic design, but I'm getting some excellent help from some people in the back end to do that. meaning I throw them the stats numbers and then try and make it look pretty, because I sure as can't do that. We're looking forward to a great year. This is kind of our calm time. We don't really have as many special events. I know we've got a tree, I didn't say that kind of calm.
Listen, don't tell people that. You said, you put it out in the universe, sir. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Tree Arbor Day's coming up.
Yeah, February 7th will be that Saturday, Arbor Day. Big deal, tents, food,
Yeah, that's
tree
really our
giveaway.
first big event. So kind of keep that in mind, kind of keep an idea, let your constituents know, you know, that'll be coming up. We're still probably going to have some traffic flow issues after that. I think we hit Easter. But we're in kind of our slower time for special event portion of the year. But other than that, we're ready to go and we look forward to a great, prosperous year. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you, Chief Griffin. Moving on to Public Works report. Mr. Price, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Good evening, everybody. I really don't have a whole lot of report as well. We were off for the holidays, kind of split the weeks here for the last couple of weeks, so it's been a little slow on our end. Cold, so the grass hasn't grown as much and so forth, but we've still been trying to keep things clean and keep everything going. As Chief said, all the holiday decorations have been taken down. We're kind of back into normal. We don't have a whole lot going on right now as far as that end, special events. We have quite a few projects that the city will be moving forward with on our end and so forth. And other than that, is there any questions from you?
No, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Price. I appreciate you, sir. Moving on to my report. I got one beef. We got to get the IT working better here. I've gotten 27 text messages in the last 10 minutes that we haven't had Facebook sound.
Thank you.
Half of it. I know.
Most of it.
No sound?
Nope.
Yeah.
Last meeting it went out, it came back.
Yeah.
This meeting it's been out. I got all kind of texts.
Yeah. Okay. It's one of those things where, we say that nobody participates. Well, when we have this happen and when they're trying to watch either, that would drive me insane also. So I don't, like I say, get a hold of Yola. That's what we can do, sir. Please. Not trying to yell at you, but.
No, that's fine. I mean, I didn't know it was out, so.
No. Yes.
In addition, I think putting it to YouTube, like I think you mentioned,
yeah, correct.
is
I'm in.
certainly a worthy.
I think we definitely need to pursue that pretty heavily. Information is key for people, and even if only 6 people watch the YouTube channel, that's 6 more people that watch the YouTube. I don't care. It doesn't cost us anything to do it, so it's one of those things where if we're giving the information to the citizens, that's the key ingredient to. They can't come back to us and say, well, I had no idea because I couldn't hear it or I couldn't see it or I couldn't do this. So for what that's worth, I'm looking forward. You guys have me, unfortunately and fortunately, until April of 2028. So I would tell you outright that I like the progress we've made over just a short period of time. Even when I was a commissioner, I'm grateful for everything that we've done. I think as long as we keep moving in the direction that we've been moving, we're doing the right thing for the city, we're doing the right thing for the citizens, and we can clean up some of the, nagging effect that we've seen over the course of our tenure together. But I'm grateful to be here with you guys once again. This is a new year for all of us. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't tell you how grateful I truly am to be a part of this. So that's all I've got for you. Happy New Year. I'm glad that all of you were safe and got to spend time with your loved ones and families, and I'm looking forward to another good year with you. So that's all for me. I'm going to move on to the commissioner's reports. Commissioner Bertoldi.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to wish all the residents, the staff at the city, the police, and all the people that work and try to make this city come together. A happy New Year and prosperous one. Thank you.
Mr. Bobrowski.
No report.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Shuck.
Not a thing, thank you.
Commissioner Lance.
I know the events committee is pretty taxed lately, but we've got new members, I believe, so I would like to do something, challenge the neighborhoods or the districts, some type of competition. You can do it for Halloween and Christmas and any other holidays, but have a competition between the districts to see, because years ago, Conway Estates, they were just loaded with beautiful Christmas decorations. And it would be really cool to figure out some kind of competition between the districts and do something for that. And maybe even a parade coming into the event, a Christmas event like the way. I know I'm saying a lot without doing a lot, but I don't know if I could.
I'll bring it up to him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that all for you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Commissioner Lowell.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Happy New Year to everybody. 2026, may it be the best ever. I do have a quick question. The calendar, I should know it, but I don't. Is the meeting in February the 2nd, or no, the 3rd? It's not on the calendar?
Hold on, I can tell you real quick.
I believe that is the first meeting.
The 3rd and the 17th.
So February, yes, February is the 3rd and the 17th. Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, first Tuesday is the 3rd, and then the 17th after.
I didn't see it, so I was just making sure. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a caveat that I will be in Missouri, but I will call in for the 3rd.
Okay.
I won't be
Can
coming back.
you send it, just send us a quick email?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Lance, if something happens with you, go ahead and send us the emails.
Yes, sir. I'll be out of the country. I'm not sure if I can get on or not.
Okay.
But I'll call in on the 3rd, but I'll
Perfect.
in.
Perfect, thank you.
That was it. Thank you. Thank you to, a good year.
Commissioner Bobrowski, do you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm getting old and I'm getting forgetful, sorry guys. And Commissioner Lance jogged my memory. I don't know if this is the time to say it, but we're always looking for proclamations. We have a couple of area businesses that have always stepped up to the plate and been the first one to write a check, been the first one to jump in and help the special events committee. How do we go about maybe making a month, volunteer month, or specify these 3 particular ones to have a little bit more recognition?
Yeah.
Do I need to talk to you about that?
I would say talk to Mr. Rudimenken about it, and
Is there a consensus from the council that you guys would be interested in doing that? Proclamation for, could we do proclamations for a couple of things? I think one's coming on the 20th as well, but yeah, I don't have it. If you guys are good with that, yeah, just get together with me, and Yolanda has a boilerplate. She can maybe do something for that. We can do something.
Yeah. Okay. Is everybody okay with that consensus? Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Sorry about
No,
that.
I'm okay with that. I'm glad that was a good thing to bring up.
Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt the progress here, Mr. Smith. Commissioner
All right,
Smith.
Your Honor, I don't have anything this evening, thank you.
Oh, look at that. Vice Mayor Pardon, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. Just Happy New Year, as Frank said, to the council, to our citizens, and everybody. That's all.
Motion to adjourn.
I would have gotten with you last year, because last year was old piece 50th anniversary. It would have been yeah.
And they were always really good about it.
Yeah, and I asked President and I said, when did they start doing?
I'm not sure I understand.
So, but then.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't. No, 100%. I'm in full agreement with that. I actually, when I saw him, I thought that was I know they got it, and they don't know. But it's not, so that's what they.